Hello everyone, my name is EVOO and welcome to today's episode of Cooking with the Koyas. I am super glad that you're with me today because I'm excited to be sharing this recipe with you because today, folks, we're going to make pasta fagioli, or as my cousin Sal would say, pasta fagioli. Well, any way you want to slice it, pasta fagioli. Fagioli just means beans in Italian. And this is one of those dishes, call it comfort food, soul food, hearty food, healthy food, any way you want to slice it. And I've developed this recipe over the years to become my own, and I can't wait to share it with you because it takes the pasta fagioli up to the next level. Absolutely superb. Even my mother was asking me, how did I make this pasta fagioli? So, can't wait to share it to you. Let's get started. Like every good Italian dish, it always starts with extra virgin olive oil. And I say put in enough olive oil to cover the bottom of your pan because we're going to be sauteing up. When you think you have enough, add a little more, as I always say. Okay, so our olive oil is in. The first thing that we're going to do is I have 1 clove of garlic here that I minced up earlier. And I like to slice it really, really thin and then mince it very finely. And we're going to add that first. And we want to cook this garlic for just 30 seconds. And all we're doing here is flavoring the olive oil. That's really all we're going to do here is just flavor that up. So we'll let that come to temperature, 30 seconds. That's about 30 seconds. So now we're going to add our onion. I have one, I'm going to say medium-sized regular cooking onion. You could use a sweet onion, you could use a red onion, as long as it's one onion. And what I like to do is I like to slice my onion very thin, and then once I've got it sliced thin, same thing, then I'll turn on it and I'll start to cube it a bit and chop it down just a bit. So now we're going to saute these onions with the garlic just for about a minute or two before we add our next ingredients. The onion has now become translucent and it's looking really good, and you can see there's still a little bit of film here of oil, which is great because it's time to add our next ingredients. So what I have here, I have chopped up 1 carrot, and I've sliced it thin and chopped it very small, little bite-sized pieces. And I also did the same with a celery. I chopped it up and I put it into small bite-sized pieces. But before I chopped up the parsley, I like to remove the little thin membrane, hair-like membrane off of the celery, and then I chop it up into small pieces. Now we're going to saute that up a bit, but we're also going to add, I've got 1 potato, again, that I've cubed up into small cubes. You want in little small cubes, bite-sized cubes, and we're going to add 1 potato as well. And that's why you need that little bit of extra olive oil, because you don't want things to really start sticking. And all we want to do here is just saute them up a bit and cook them up a bit, fry them up a bit, especially the potato, because we want that to cook just a little bit more before we start adding our next ingredient, which actually we could add the next ingredient right now that I'm thinking about it, because it can start cooking now, even though it doesn't take as long to cook, but it will add flavor. And this is one of those secret ingredients right here. This is pancetta. Now, it happens to be my own homemade pancetta, which I've made myself, and I've just, again, sliced it up and diced it up into small little bits. And we're going to add, this is a 1/2 cup. You could add anywhere from a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup, and you can see there the pancetta. Now, I used my own homemade, but all you have to do is go to your local deli and ask them for some pancetta. And all you need is a 1/2 cup worth of pancetta. That's it. And that is going to add a unique flavor and a very delicious flavor to our pasta fagioli. And if you've never tried that before, you're going to notice a big difference when you do this. Now, if you do not have pancetta, or your local deli doesn't have it, you could always substitute with a little bit of prosciutto. That'll do the same. Now, I hate to almost even mention this, you could use a 1/2 cup of bacon. However, that does a completely different flavor to the pasta fagioli, and it doesn't become Italian at that point. The pancetta is what makes it. The flavor of the pancetta is one of the keys to this dishes, but there's still more keys to come, and I'm ready. I'll be willing to share them with you as soon as we get there. But for right now, we're going to just keep sauteing this over medium heat. We're going to cook it just a little bit, maybe another 5 minutes. So as you're continuing to cook these, look at those nice flavors developing in there. Oh my! You don't want to walk away. You want to continuously stir it. You can hold off for a minute or two and then go back and stir it again, because you do not want them to stick to the bottom of your pan. So this is looking really, really good. And I'll tell you, this dish goes back centuries in Italian history. It is a classic Italian dish, that's for sure. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 1 liter. I have 1 liter here of my homemade chicken broth. Now, of course, you don't need to use homemade. I happen to have homemade, so I'm going to use it. That's what I'm going to call 1 generous liter of homemade broth. And now I'm going to add 1.5 liters of water. In goes my water. There's a liter. And here is 1/2 liter. So that chicken broth is one of the specialty ingredients. It's another key ingredient that you typically don't find with pasta fagioli, because you could make this dish just using straight water. But what I found is 1 liter of chicken broth to 1.5 liters of water just makes for a fantastic flavor. And we're going to flavor this even more in a few minutes after we bring this to a boil, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, if you want, you don't have to use chicken broth. You could use vegetable broth if you want, but and again, you could also make this with straight water, but I'm sharing with you the things that I do that makes this dish superb. Okay, let's bring it to a boil. Beautiful. As you can see, we've got a nice boil here, and you could even see a little bit of yellow here on the top. That's our olive oil. That's what you want to see. Okay, a nice vigorous boil going. So what we're going to do now, another one of my little secret tips. I've got 2 cans of, I'll show the English version here, Romano beans. Romano beans are the beans that you want. That is the style of bean that you need for this pasta fagioli dish. So I've got 2 cans, and what I did is I've got a 1/2 can here, a 1/2 can that I pureed. And this is going to add an intense fagioli or bean flavor to our pasta fagioli and add some character as well. That is one of the special things that you need to do for a fantastic dish of pasta fagioli. This here is the other 1.5 cans. So there's 1.5 cans there. And don't worry, I'm going to put this recipe in below for you so you've got it. And I like to drain my beans, but don't worry about it if you have a little bit of liquid still in there. I actually like to keep a little bit in there because it also adds some really, really nice flavor. So at this point, we've added our fagiolis. Now we're going to add some salt. So depending on your broth, I made my own broth. There was no salt in it. So start with 1.5 teaspoons of salt. That's what I'm going to do. And then you just do salt to taste. But if you're using a store-bought broth, you might want to just slowly add salt and taste it along the way. So what I have to do now is, again, let this come to a boil. So I've got it on high, lid goes on. I just wait another minute or so, bring this to another vigorous boil, then we'll add our pasta. That's the boil we're looking for right there. A nice vigorous boil. I've got it on high. And now at this point, what I like to do, and this is another key, I cook my pasta in with the broth. I don't cook it separately and add it separately. I cook it right in with my pasta fagioli dish, because you're going to get the benefit of that pasta water and the flavor from the pasta cooking right in your dish. So that is another key thing that I found. And this pasta, I refer to it as tubettini, the small little tubes. You could also use the elbows. You need a small pasta, but the actual name, see here, is Ditali, and this is number 45, but you can see they're just the small little tubes, and the actual name is Ditali. I call them tubettini. But anyways, the key is you want a small small pasta. Like I said, you could even use the little small elbows if you like, but the tubettini, that's the classic. That's the one you want if you can get it. So we're boiling right now, 9 minutes, and that pasta will be al dente, and that's when we're going to stop it, because it's okay to be al dente because it's going to continue cooking a little bit in the water afterwards anyhow. So after 9 minutes, we're going to stop this from boiling, give it a stir, and our pasta fagioli will be ready. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. Doesn't hurt to give it a stir. It's been about 5 minutes. Oh, it's coming along nicely. Our timer has just sounded. Look at that. Okay, we can turn the heat off now. So now that we're done, and it's looking really, really good, I'm gonna put this right on the table, the whole pot right as is, right on the table. We're gonna serve this family style, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like in the plate. We're gonna plate these and enjoy a nice meal, and we're gonna have it with some nice fresh bread. And if you haven't seen me make my bread, my simple overnight recipe for bread, you need to check that out because it comes out spectacular every time. So we're gonna have our pasta fagioli. I'm gonna dish this now up because my mother's gonna join us. We're gonna have ourselves a nice classic Italian dinner. You get the first plate.
Okay.
Oh boy, look at that.
You know?
Actually, I have to show the folks back home this beautiful dish right there. I have to show you that dish. Look at that. Pasta fagioli right there at its best. Here you go, Ma.
Thank you.
Some bread, Ma, fresh bread?
Yeah, fresh bread.
There you go.
Okay.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.